All right, last objective of endocrine part 2. So we're talking about the major hormones, and we've touched on these and kind of talked about them already in the previous objectives. So I'm going to probably skip over some of the things here so this video isn't quite as long. So we're starting off with our growth hormone, and its functions include stimulating the linear growth at the epiphyseal plate, right, on the long bones, hypertrophy of muscle, so again, increase in muscle, and then release of nutrients from storage into the blood. So the growth hormone releasing hormone stimulates growth hormone release naturally. And its release is influenced by age, time of day, and nutrient levels, stress, and exercise, so it fluctuates throughout the day. Growth hormone changes a lot as affected by these, okay? So growth hormone targets hepatocytes. Hepatocytes release insulin like growth factors or IGFs. IGFs work synergistically with growth hormone, and it causes an enhancing response. IGFs have a longer half-life than growth hormone, which is good. So that means that they're going to last longer inside of the body, allowing that effect of those hormones to continue onwards. Hepatocytes also increase gluconeogenesis and gluconeogenesis, and that results in a diabetogenic increase in blood glucose levels. So GH actually is going to go ahead and help increase blood glucose levels along with those hepatocytes. So all body cells have receptors for a growth hormone and the IGF, or both, and they cause an increase in cell division, protein synthesis, and cell differentiation. Bone and muscle are particularly responsive to GH. So GH and IGFs cause adipose cells to release nutrients. So cells are going to increase lipolysis and decrease lipogenesis. So that means your fat's going to start being used up more. That energy is going to be used up more from those fat cells, and they're not going to be increasing the size of your fat cells or the adipose cells. So increases the levels of glycerol and fatty acids in the blood, which makes sense because you're breaking them down, right? So it's going to be released into the blood. This helps provide molecules necessary for generating ATP for growth. Remember, that's our currency of the body. So negative feedback regulation of growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone release. Increased levels of growth hormone or IGF are going to stimulate the hypothalamus to release growth hormone inhibiting hormone or GHIH. So as you're looking through these notes, just remember all of those shorthands you have already seen earlier before, and if you need to look back at your notes for that. So growth hormone release also inhibits its own release from the pituitary gland. So again, that negative feedback is happening all the time for growth hormone. So there's a couple different disorders. You've got growth hormone deficiency or pituitary dwarfism. It's an inadequate growth hormone production. It's due to the hypothalamic or pituitary problems, and it causes short stature and low blood sugar. Our next one is the pituitary gigantism, hard word to say. It's where you've got too much growth hormone and it's excessive growth and increased blood sugar, and enormous internal organs, and usually these individuals are going to die at an early age if untreated. Then our next one is acromegaly, and it's excessive growth hormone production in an adult, enlargement of bones of face, hands, and feet, increased release of glucose, internal organs increase in size, and results from loss of feedback control of growth hormone. So again, that negative feedback just isn't happening. All right, our next one is the thyroid gland and the thyroid hormone. So the anatomy of the thyroid gland is that it sits inferior to the thyroid cartilage of the larynx, right? So this guy right up top here, and it's anterior to the trachea, so it's going to be right up front here. It's connected at the midline by a narrow isthmus, and its rich vascularization gives it a reddish color, and it's composed of microscopic follicles. Those follicular cells are cuboidal epithelial cells, and if you remember, those cuboidal cells tend to be the ones that make up glands, which makes sense. And these produce and release the thyroid hormone, or TH. The follicle lumen, or the opening, right, houses colloid, which is a viscous protein-rich fluid, and the parafollicular cells are surrounding the follicular cells that make what's called the calcitonin, or they make calcitonin, excuse me, and that hormone is helping decrease blood calcium levels. So if you remember way back when we talked about, whether our osteoclasts are going to be breaking down bone matrix or not, calcitonin, if you remember, was part of helping regulate that. So the action of the thyroid hormone is the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis has some things to do with this. Okay, so if we have a cold temperature, pregnancy, high altitude, hypoglycemia, or low TH are going to cause the hypothalamus to release that thyroid releasing hormone. And then TRH causes the anterior pituitary to release the TSH, or the thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH binds to receptors of the follicular cells in the thyroid gland and triggers them to release thyroid hormone. The follicular cells release two forms of TH into the blood. There's the T3 and the T4. T3 and T4 are both transported within the blood by carrier molecules. So the TH disassociates from the carrier proteins and exits the blood, so some of it is going to. And then cellular transport brings TH into target cells where it binds to receptors. T3 versus T4, the thyroid gland produces more of the T4, but T3 is more active, so it does more things. Most target cells convert T4 to T3 anyway, which is kind of interesting. But the thyroid hormone increases metabolic rate and protein synthesis in its target cells. So it stimulates synthesis of sodium, potassium pumps in the neurons, which is the calorogenic effect, which means that it generates heat and raises your body temperature. It also stimulates increased amino acids and glucose uptake. So you're going to go ahead and draw more nutrients in. And it increases the number of cellular respiration enzymes within the mitochondria. So notice, it's a lot of like heat generation stuff, a lot of ATP, a lot of metabolism happening here, and it's going to foster energy or ATP production. So again, here we have some hepatocytes again, just like we saw with the GH. They're going to be stimulated to increase blood glucose levels. So TH causes an increase in glucogenolysis and gluconeogenesis and a decrease in glucogenesis. Adipose cells stimulated to increase blood glycerol and fatty acids. So TH causes an increase in lipolysis and a decrease in lipogenesis. Notice the trend here between GH and TH, do very similar things. And so this is going to help save glucose for the brain. So it has a glucose sparing effect. TH increases the respiration rate to go ahead and meet additional O2 demand. If you're going to go ahead and be producing a lot more ATP, you need more oxygen. TH increases heart rate and force of contraction. It causes the heart to increase receptors for epinephrine and norepinephrine. Again, that's going to be that upregulation to increase the degree of response. And then negative feedback for TH is that we see that if it increases in the number of TH molecules that we have, that actually causes a decrease in its release from the hypothalamus. So the TH inhibits release of the thyroid releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, and then TH inhibits release of thyroid stimulating hormone from the anterior pituitary gland, and then thyroid hormone causes release of growth hormone inhibiting hormone, further inhibiting the thyroid stimulating hormone release. Again, all sorts of chains going on here, right? This happens to this, and then this happens to this, and then this happens to this. All right, I will let you guys read through the clinical view. Our next one, we're talking about the adrenal glands and cortisol, and I'm going to do that in the next half of this one.